guts onto a steel gangway. He followed the squirrel up some metal steps lining the base of the tall concrete tower at Hinterland's heart, the Pale Loomer. Turning a corner, he entered the shade of the thin woods. Green leaves danced as Joyce leaped from tree to tree, causing a woodpecker to stop its hammering, and several grey squirrels to jerk their heads. The boy continued in pursuit, running beneath the conveyor that sloped into the Pale Loomer's sooty flank. Landfill had soon crossed the narrow strip of trees that split Hinterland's centre, and turned another corner to find Joyce scrabbling up a stout white chimney. The squirrel blinked at the boy, who was now kneeling on mossy concrete. Landfill panted for a moment, wiped his fringe from his eyes and flashed a goofy grin. "No more pipes, little squirrel, so come on down. Let's see if you're as wily on the ground." Joyce blinked and brushed his whiskers. The boy's blue eyes sparkled. "Gutless twitcher, eh?" He cackled and thumped the ground with his palms. "Tell you what, come down and I'll give you another running start. That's more than fair." Joyce tilted his head, scuttled groundwards and sped away. Landfill was soon back on his feet, and Vonnegut caught up to join him in pursuit. The Alsatian yapped and howled, causing other dogs to peer out from nearby toppled railway carts. Some of them joined the chase, and the boy dropped to all fours to lope among the hounds. They raced along the train tracks that extended from the Pale Loomer's wide concrete opening, hopping on and off the cables that flanked the rusty rails. Baying with the dogs, the boy ran and ran, following the tracks until he was forced to skid to a stop. He watched helplessly as Joyce scaled the perimeter wall. The wall spanned far to the left and right, and Landfill took a few steps back to take in its height. He saw Joyce at the top, sat carefully between broken bottle teeth. The dogs held off too, backing away from the nettles that smothered the wall, tangled around creepers, scraps of mirror, and jutting shards of glass. Landfill arched his neck and grimaced. He had to shout for his voice to reach the squirrel. "Okay, game over, Joyce. Shouldn't go up there. It's not safe." Joyce rubbed his tiny paws together. He backed away slightly, towards the other side of the wall. "I mean it. Come down." Landfill was pleading now. His eyes roamed the sky. "Don't go outside, please. Come down, Joyce. You're safer in here." The squirrel chattered, then was gone. "Come back!" Landfill cupped his hands around his mouth to yell, but it was no use. The dogs wagged their tails while his gaze moved down the wall. He stood, staring for some time, scratching his calf with a long toenail. He crooked a hand and wet his wrist with his tongue, then ran it through his hair. The dog's ears pricked up. Landfill tensed. He could hear it too. A distant rumble. "The eye! It's the eye!" He whirled around, searching for the nearest place to hide. There were shrubs and bushes, some scraps of corrugated iron, rubble and plasterboard, but nothing provided enough cover. His eyes followed the train tracks to the Pale Loomer's opening, then zoomed back to a railway cart toppled midway between the loomer and the wall. Landfill ran for it. Behind him, the dogs barked at blue sky. The rumbling became louder, and he knew this would be close. He could hear the other animals adding to the commotion, only to have their growls, hisses, and howls swallowed by the drone. It was a long stretch to run, nearly a quarter of Hinterland's breadth. Landfill's heart was pounding as he realised how heavy his legs were. He should never have tired himself out so far from cover. The noise from above became louder and louder. He could almost feel it bearing down upon him when he sprang head first into the cart. He covered his ears, tucked in his legs, and pushed his body as far into the cart's shelter as he could. The boy's panting was amplified by his hands over his ears, but he could still hear the roaring from the sky. It screamed directly above, and he noticed flecks of paint vibrating along the cart's inner lining. He could see some dogs from another cart, all snarls and teeth and frothing gums, barking skywards while the shadow passed. The noise faded, and the dogs settled down. After listening